Hi everyone, welcome to Unfold Data Science podcast series where we speak to the experts in AI and try to learn what is going on in the field, how we can grow, how we can be in sync with the new advancements in the field. And today I have a very special guest with me. I have Pier who is joining us from the UK, and Pier is kind enough to give us some time today. Pier is a solution architect of generative AI plus technical content writer plus he is very much active into the conferences and talks and different kinds of book publication or contribution to open source, etc. So we will hear more from Pierre. Pierre, welcome to the podcast, and I request you to just say to audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much for the invite. And yes, so I'm Pierre. I originally from Italy, where I grew up with my family. Then I moved to the UK for studies, first doing electronics and then moving to AI. And that's where I started then my career as a data scientist, working first in the UK, then moving to Switzerland in Zurich, working in the insurance sector. And this year moving back to London to join a new tech company. It's a big tech company working in the engineering field. And apart from that, yes, as mentioned before, I also like to write a lot. So I have my own blog, which I've been doing for more than 5 years now, contributing to publications like Towards Data Science, for which I'm also an editor, and doing other side things like reviewing book publications for books from Morale or other editorial teams, and contributed to creation of products on the web, like a product that I developed last year was Sapiens Link that I made with some friends and then open source just a few weeks ago.
Okay, that's great to hear. So when you started in the AI, what was the time like? Was generative AI into discussions, or people were talking about this, or how you see the generative AI evolving over time?
Yes, so I did my master in 2019, and at that point in time, there was generative AI was mainly associated with things like autoencoders or the early stages of transformers, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Since attention was all you needed, was just came out, and so yeah, obviously it was not such a big topic in the space, although it was a field of mainly a field of research. And over the past few years, there have been obviously lots of changes and things. Like I think, for example, when Hugging Faces released Transformers, the library made the use of Transformers much more easy for the general public, let's say. And the field is keeping expanding. So I think in the next few years, it's going to be really interesting to see how can we move beyond Transformers and try to define new architectures, let's say, instead of just optimizing the data behind.
Yeah. And when you say new architectures, is there something that is already you are aware of that is in early stages or something like that?
I mean, it's difficult to say.
Mm-hmm.
I like things like state-space models, like and things like Jamba, these kind of
Mm-hmm.
models. Let's say I found them quite interesting. Or I found also quite fascinating more like how to embed the knowledge bases of rules into models, which are approaches more, I guess, similar to how AlphaFold or technologies like this have been folded that you can define for some specific field of research. Like, for example, try to make a model that is specific to discovery of physics or of mathematics or things like this. I think that's going to be really interesting rather than focusing more on NLP type of tasks. But yeah, it's hard to tell, let's say, what would be the best approach in the long term. I still think like since I was at uni that I like a lot the field of reinforcement learning, and I thought that was a way, let's say, going forward to try to potentially when they reach AGI with some form of reinforcement learning always in the loop. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So one thing what I have noticed is a new concept comes, a new thing comes, and by the time we learn that, something else comes. So in this consistently changing environment of, evolving AI, what do you suggest to people who are into the industry, how they should plan their learning, or how they should plan their careers, or how they should move forward to stay relevant and grow in careers?
Yeah, it's a good question. There are many ways I think you can do that. So they say the safest way obviously would be to try to focus curriculum from courses like you can find on deep learning by Andrew Ng or Coursera or platforms like this. What I found more interesting in my case for me is um, trying. I mean, I have my own blog, so I'm biased, let's say,
Hmm.
but I like to follow a lot like independent blog made by researcher or people that work in the field. That's my main thing. So I prefer that to content tailored, let's say, made by developer advocates for things like this right now.
Hmm.
But since I think it's closer to the actual action, say, although that can be more unfiltered. So obviously, if someone end up making a course on this sort of wide known platform, that means that there is demand and the models or the approaches and whatever are used in product in real life. Instead, yeah, when you go more niche into this kind of independent blogs, I think you can find lots of research around it that might make the cut through, but also might not. And yeah, or generally have a look every now and then to conferences, publications like NeurIPS or things like this to see what's going on around the space and if you start seeing new trends in that area. So, for example, I also actually made a repo on GitHub that I have called Keeping Learning, where I'm
Hmm.
tracking all the resources that I like to follow and look every now and then to keep myself updated. And and then obviously I think it's also important to not just read things, but also practice and do some side projects, some things, and test them out, let's say, because that's the best way to actually learn anything.
Yeah, nicely said. And I will paste the link in the description, guys, for the GitHub repo which Pierre just spoke about. I'll request Pierre to give that, and I'll share it with you, the GitHub repo.
Yeah, for me it's also important, for example, to depends on where you live, but I like a lot to go to meetups. So now I'm currently based in London. There are lots of meetups you can attend to, like AI Tinkerers, MLOps community, and so on. And when you go to these kind of events, you also meet people, you can brainstorm, and that's another good way, let's say, to keep updated, making sure that you find communities which will be in person or online, and that's where you meet other builders basically.
How do you get to know about these meetups?
Yeah, there are different ways. I think it changes over time. Like now, I think in some areas it's going quite strong. Luma, this platform called Luma,
Hmm.
or Meetup.com is a quite traditionally speaking a good place to look. Or there are some other creators that have independent platform like AI Tinkerers, as his own website,
Hmm.
and as many others all over the world now. And what else? I know, for example, there are also things like the Google Developer Group,
Hmm.
which are established by companies. So also companies like Google or Facebook and so on, they have these networks events that you can
Hmm.
attend and are quite good. Like for example, also me when I was at uni, I went to a couple of hackathons from Facebook and one from Google, and that's also where I met some cool people, cool things, cool projects. So I think hackathons is also another way to do things. And I know also people that do it quite competitively to join hackathons regularly. Let's say too.
Yeah.
Yes. So Yeah, I think that's the main type of approaches.
Great. So just to summarize, there are different websites which Pierre just spoke about. Those websites we can go, and we can also research little bit on the Google groups or different Facebook groups. They organize some of these, which is open for everybody, and people can go and network and learn from relevant people in the industry.
Yeah, for example, there is Google Developer Group Community for Cloud, or I know Facebook does some team event here in London that you can attend as well.
Mhm.
And these kind of things, like, for example, they're also specific for some communities, like, for example, this Asian in Tech here in London that did an event in Google like a couple of months ago, an event in Microsoft this month. So many different options.
Many options, yeah. If somebody tries to find out, they will have less time. Time will be scarcity. Yeah, so
Yeah,
many events.
exactly. Then I also value a lot, for example, events that are more hands-on and shared. Let's say, for example, there are places where you can go there and there are, I don't know, two, three speakers that they give the talk and you can ask questions on their projects, or there are other places like AI Tinkerers that I think was quite new for me this year, that instead they mainly focus on having short demos
Mhm.
and people submit demos of things they're actually building. So if you have a funny project you build with the Gen AI that you want to just show to the community with a 10, 15-minute speech and try to get more people interested in your project to work together or develop together, is I think that's also quite interesting if you are more hands-on oriented rather than I just want to learn what's going on in the theoretical sense around, let's say.
Yeah, depends on what is the interest of the people. So somebody more hands-on can try these paths as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So how has been coming to generative AI, since that is your kind of area of expertise? How has been the what kind of interesting works is going on, or what are the different types of work that you are seeing around in generative AI space?
Yes. So over the last couple of years, I mean, there has been a big move from working just with LLMs to augmenting them with lots of different things. Like obviously, RAG has been a big topic, retrieval augmented generation, very big topic. And this year, instead, the main focus has been agents, and I think also next year will be agents. And there has been lots of cool work, I think, also done by Anthropic. For example, Anthropic released a model context protocol just last week, literally, more or less.
Mhm.
And these are things that I think are quite interesting to see around how to have basically open standards that make possible for developers to build two-way connections between data sources and AI-powered tools. I I think that's gonna be a big thing of the future, let's say, or how to make websites or other web resources more easily accessible for LLMs and these kind of tools. Because, for example, now you can obviously use things like augment your LLM with Google search capabilities or any other things like that. So making website more accessible for LLMs to scrape important information, I think can be quite good.
Yeah. In terms of AI agents, what kind of so what is AI agents at high level for newbies who don't know what is AI agent?
So in very short terms, I say the idea of an agent would be to augment your language model
Hmm.
with different type of tools or function calling capabilities. So instead of just you interacting with natural language requests to the model, you give the model different tools, which will be capabilities like a Python function to get real-time currency exchange rates, or will be ability to connect to an API to perform Google searches so that you can query Google searches and get results back to show to the users, or other things like compounding different LLMs and making talk to each other so that they can collaborate on tasks or distribute workloads to each other in a sort of like having a main LLM, which can be an orchestrator, and then some other LLMs that can perform different tasks and things like this. And this is something that also been seen in the open source space with libraries like LangChain moving to LangGraph to make it more easy to create, to not just work with chain of agents or steps one after the other, but to create complex graph for interaction, I say.
Yeah, and if I want to practice and if I want to learn these, let's say on AWS or GCP, or um, I want to get a feel of end-to-end project in these areas, right? So what are some of the resources? Is it on YouTube or somewhere freely available I can get?
Yeah, there are lots of resources. Let's say I think basically all providers from Google, Anthropic, or OpenAI, they all give a free tier, let's say, for access to their API or simple things like this.
Hmm.
And especially like all main cloud provider like Azure, GCP, or AWS, they have their free tier for new users, which could be 90 days free access for more services, or could be 500 number of credits in advance or things like this. So yeah, there are lots of resources you can use. And apart from that, there are, if you want to go for paid models and get started with that, but otherwise there are also lots of open source models. Like for example, Google has Gemini as main paid model for enterprises, but also as the Gamma
Gamma,
line,
yeah,
Gemma
yeah,
line basically, that is focused more just on open source. So you can go to Hugging Face, and these are usually like 2 billion, 7 billion type of models, or
yeah,
now also 27, but the main idea is that they are small enough that you can just clone it or download it on Hugging Face and run it locally. And therefore you can play with the model. You can also do fine tuning on this 2B parameters model, probably on your local machine or with a very small distance. And that's probably the best way if you're just getting started, let's say. I will advise. There are so many models on Hugging Face, also like Gwen or Llama from Facebook.
yeah,
Very good model that you can start with.
yeah. So lot of resources out there from which we can learn, and lot of, in terms of infra also, if we need, lot of free tier infra available for learning purpose. Only thing is, if somebody has dedication and commitment to learn, there is no dearth of materials available on the web, or resources or infra that we can use.
Yeah, definitely. Like also Hugging Face had this program, I think GPU Poor, which was trying to advertise. So yeah, there is lots of support. I think Google was also doing this competition of building with Gemini and for developers, and you get prizes or hackathons. For example, here in London, there was also 11 Labs, which was doing some hackathons, giving free access to their computer resources and things like this. So there are lots of ways.
Yeah, yeah. So talking a little bit about your additional activities apart from your full-time job, as we discussed, Pierre is in full-time job, but he's also doing multiple other ventures. For example, he's doing consulting, he's doing technical writing, and few more things which we will discuss now. So what we want to understand is, what are the various areas as a data scientist you and me can try our hands on, and how to manage these things with a full-time job. Like, what is your strategy towards, okay, I'll work 1 hour on this. And for example, if we take technical writing towards data science, I recently saw that your blog has 1 million plus views, your toward data science articles. So
Mm.
congratulations for that. 1 million plus is a huge number in terms of technical blog. So how do you dedicate your time, and how do you ensure that all these things progress in parallel?
Yes, that's something I started with uni. Actually, it all started as a accident or something, basically. Like
Hmm.
I was considering doing a PhD, I did a research proposal, I got an offer. Then at the end, I decided to turn it down and focus more on working um, full time instead for a company. And then I did this research proposal that I said, okay, what I do with it now? And I said, okay, why not trying to publish it online? And I published it first generally on Medium and on my blog, and then I got a couple of editors reaching out to me that they liked my research and they wanted to collaborate and stuff. And that's then how then we basically became a hobby or a passion I started doing on the side. Uh, and then this developed over time. Like I've been doing many different things from it. So, for example, I collaborated with some companies to write articles with them. I had the opportunity to go to conferences in the US, in Italy, and in France, in these kind of countries. So I think that's something good to do. Say if you really like it, because and it's something that potentially also transition to a full-time occupation if you wish after, let's say, if things also goes well or if that's what you mainly like to do. But for me, it's mainly a hobby, and I like to keep it as a hobby because that also gives me the freedom to choose uh, what I want to do or not. Let's say, if someone reach out to me and say, "Oh, um, I'm a startup and developing this product. Can you write about it?" And I don't like the idea, or I think the idea doesn't work well or something, because it's a side thing and it's not my full-time job. I can have more freedom to say just no, I don't want to share that. It doesn't represent what I believe or something. And yes, so I think that's really important to keep it like a hobby for me. Um, and apart from that, then this evolved to other things like so I started with technical writing, then it became also editorial reviewing when I became an editor. Then I started getting more involved into also creating courses. So I became a teacher, for example, for Levagon in Switzerland, or I made a course for Anaconda, another course for Educative Dataio. And the last, then I said I did some consulting, which I stopped, by the way, now, because when I joined my new employer was out of scope, so I'm not doing any more consulting. And everything I do as part of these side activities, like also this podcast interview, just represent myself, not my employer. And that's why I keep them as quite siloed or separate, let's say, whenever I can. And yeah, and last year, though, I got more interested in other things, like indie hacker or indie development type of communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I found lots of value in trying to, especially now, as you said, with Gen AI or large language models, there has been, for example, in the US, this rise of new roles like product engineers, which were things that didn't exist before. And the main idea of having product engineers is that now people can pick up new languages more easily, or can become more easily full stack developers, let's say, because of
Mm-hmm.
you can use LLMs to help you with your development. And therefore, engineers cannot just be focused potentially just on smaller tasks like they were before, but can be more have a greater vision, let's say, of what a product development might look like. And therefore, last year I got quite a lot into how can you try to build end-to-end solutions or micro SaaS or these kind of services on your side. And I think that's something that I find it quite fascinating now, especially with communities like Product Hunt, where people can create their own products, advertise it there, and share ideas with other people, open sourcing it or try to get more people to collaborate with them. So I think these are the main things I've been focusing on in the past, and I'm trying to focus myself right now. And but mainly keeping it as an hobby now since I joined my new employer, let's say.
Yeah, yeah, I can
Yeah, that's why,
understand.
because when I was in Switzerland, I could also have a sole proprietorship under my name, where I could then put all the money or things that I was earning from this side of things. But now the consultancy side is over, let's say, And although we're things that were quite interesting to do, especially in early stages. For example, I don't know now, but a few years ago, I got few people reaching out for me for consultancy work that find my work through things I did on Kaggle.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one way, for example, people found me for technical support, or just generally from writing or so on. Because if you, I mean, if you create some technical blogs where you can show you can actually build things and open source them, then it's more easy for people to reach out to your LinkedIn or these other places to ask support for their startups or other things, let's say.
Yeah. So this part of the discussion is very important for everybody for two reasons. One is I will show you in a moment how Pier's website is looking like, and many people ask me how to maintain a online credibility or how to maintain an online portfolio. So let me
Mm.
share Pier's website once. You will learn how to maintain that. This is very interesting website. This is Pier's LinkedIn. If you want, I will share it, but this is more interesting here. Okay. And this is how he has maintained his projects, blogs, books, products, services, and about. So if I come here, I can go to any of these sections, for example, blogs, and I can see different blogs here, which is, on different topics. What I was more interested in here is services. For example, uh, the kind of companies or people Pierce has worked in the past. They have given some feedbacks, and this is collaborated with these companies. So it's huge. It's like lot of companies here: Kadena Gates, DataCamp, Springer, which means writing content for these guys. So in one way, this is how one can maintain their online credibility. So any suggestions, Pierre, for somebody who does not have this many things to put, but still something they can put?
Yeah, in my case, let's say I just started with the projects and blog section.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it evolved, let's say. I I started with publishing some articles. Then
Yeah.
I like particularly to do, and I found most value also myself. Let's say, I think, for example, one of the way I decide what to write about is problems that I have, basically. That's the
Mm-hmm.
main thing. So, or if I'm trying to build something and I don't find resources online and I have to go through many searches and many things and try to combine them, or go deeper into documentations and stuff like that. That's one way I usually find, okay, I'm gonna do this thing and then actually write an article about it. And I also, I think it's like, is like I like more articles that are hands-on, that provide guides or tutorials, let's say, on how to do stuff. And because of that, that's why then some of my articles are quite in depth into how to develop things end to end. And to make it easier then for people to play with it, I develop also this project section. And in the project section, there is actually the end results of things. So one thing that I like a lot was not just doing AI/ML, but making user interfaces that explain it really easy. And that's why then I have lots of these projects that you see are mainly Python based, or things like this, that then you have this user interface that people can play with it. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore I start looking at things like deployment online and so on. So for example, a few years ago, Heroku was really famous for having free tiers for deployments of that any solo developer could use for free. So I had
Mm-hmm.
different apps on Heroku. Or now there is also still Python Anywhere that give free compute for
Free
deployment
compute.
of
Yeah.
exactly of this application. So for example, an app here that is developed on Python Anywhere and so on. So that was the idea, basically, to make sure, or converting, for example, dynamic content into static content that can be hosted on GitHub pages for free. So the idea was not just to write an article, but make it really easy for people to play with the output of it, to interact with it, and be able to do stuff. For example, this is just a project showing different type of apps that can be made just using Python library. For example, Shiny was mainly our library, but they also port it now to Python, and you can develop easily apps with Shiny that can be deployed on the web, let's say.
Yeah. This is hosted on Python anywhere, is it?
No, that's a funny thing. This is hosted on GitHub Pages
Okay, okay.
because you can compile it, you see, as an HTML file and
Hmm.
pre-compute all the different options that you're sliding about. And therefore, you don't even need the proper computer, let's say. You can just use free things like GitHub Pages to display these things.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Inside projects
Example,
Python on the web, yeah.
yes, exactly.
So have you written for all these guys the blogs? In the services you have given many companies here, right?
Mm.
So sometime or other you have written for example, Free Code Camp or KD Nuggets or all these guys.
Yes, I did write for all these companies, let's say. Some of them I was interested in writing for, other they reached out to me, and that's how it went, let's say, over time.
Yeah,
For example, some companies already saw my articles published on my website and asked to if they could repost it on their platforms or things like this.
great, great, great.
And I think in order, as you said, in order to have credibility, it's important just that you write about things that you care about and that you believe in, and you don't just write about anything. Let's say, because there were some cases where when blog started growing, that companies start reaching out to me. And if I didn't believe in it, I just didn't write for them. Like, for example, I was got asked many times for like writing things about crypto or other things that I have no familiarity with, and I just didn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Like, be sure that you know what you're talking about, that you just pick up things that you believe in, and that you can be proud of to share online, you know?
Hmm. This is the medium ones. For example, this is LLM pitfalls. Okay, I'll go through these. So the reason I opened this is a very simple but very powerful way of showcasing your credibility, showcasing your capabilities, and tomorrow if somebody is going for a job interview or recruitment, they can simply give this link and recruiters can just get a feel of how the profile is. So this is pretty good.
Yes.
So many people ask how to create a sample website for themselves, or recruiter ask for some online references. So at one place we can put our projects, we can put our other things that we have done, and we can just navigate people there.
Yeah, that's why one way to do it is obviously using, you go on GitHub Pages, GitHub provides you with templates of websites you can use. And that's also how I started in my case. Or you can also use platforms like, for example, I saw platforms like, I think, Data Science Portfolio, uh, that made basically, they saw this gap of people trying to share projects, and they made platforms make it really easy to create this sort of landing pages where people can add blogs or projects to that, and they can just share it as a simple link to that you can put on your CV or things like that.
Yeah, just having a presence is important, and designing and beautification come later. So those things, people can do later.
Yes.
Because if you go to LinkedIn and search for data scientist, you get close to 2 million profiles now. So something different is what recruiters are also looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's always good to do projects, or as you said before, to do courses like things on Coursera, but the best thing is to do things that you care about, or the problems that try to solve real world problems, let's say. Because for example, on courses like Coursera, there could be some example projects that you do as part of the course, But if you have 2 million people doing these courses online and 2 million people doing the same projects and 2 million people putting the same projects on their CV, it's not something unique, you know.
Yeah.
It showed that you didn't have the passion or effort to try to do something that you thought really about instead of just going through a course and ticking boxes, let's say, as part of the course.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever projects, at the moment you put something in the resume, and when you go for interview, the person on the other side of the table should be interested in listening to that. It should not be a simple Titanic problem or credit card loan default or something like that. Now it is.
Yeah, like working with the Iris data set or
Yeah,
Titanic data type of thing that has been around mainstream for many, many years now.
many many
See,
years. Yeah,
like it's good to know that you obviously did the basics, but it doesn't show that you went farther than that, let's say.
true. So before we wrap up, I want to ask one last thing, Pierre. What are the three things that I, as a data scientist, should focus on to stay relevant and to grow in my career, keeping in mind the beginners and the mid-level experienced people both?
Yes, I think but first of all, it's important to have good technical skills and to keep learning and practicing with new tools, new technologies, stay updated with some research, then depending obviously on your role specific or where you see yourself heading, I say. So that's number one, definitely. Another thing that I learned with time is the importance not just to do the work and be technically skilled, but also to have some business skills, let's say, to be able to do a project and also push it in the company to try to get more relevance or to be able to make sure that you can get buy-in from the business or anything, depending also how big is your organization. I think this is less relevant when you work for a startups, but as you might work on a bigger corporation or if you want to grow potentially more senior position, I think becomes more relevant since typically more senior role require a bit less coding and more like stakeholder management type of interactions. And last piece of advice, say, uh, I think it's important just to find satisfaction in your work, which could be either directly to your work or to side things like could be having your own blog or things like that. Because yeah, as long as you like what to do, I think it's also easier to just keep going and getting better. And there are so many things that like one of the great things about AI is that can be applied to many industry sectors. So if you may find more satisfaction working for things like I don't know, drug discovery for creating new medicines or things like this, then by all means feel free to learn more about the hardcore skills of biology and so on, so that you can get roles in these kind of companies instead of working a generalistic AI role for let's say a consultancy or things like this. Let's say what try to mix, let's say, your passion and your knowledge to keep going and improving.
Yeah, very, very nice suggestions. So just to summarize, three things that Pierce is saying is: one, you need to learn your technical skills, stay updated, keep practicing, keep doing projects. Second is learn stakeholder management, which is very important, and get buying from other parties, other teams, your clients, customers, whatever it is. And third is keep doing something in addition to your job that will make you learn more, and that will separate you from the crowd as well. So if you keep doing these things together, then you are definitely going to grow in the career. Anything else, Pierre, before we close?
No, I think that should be it for me. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me also directly.
A big thank you to you from me and entire Unfold Data Science family. We have close to 100K people, and they will be listening to this conversation. So a big thank you from all of us. And I will just give your LinkedIn link in the description of the video. If somebody wants to connect, they can connect and get guidance from you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pierre. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye.